Hi, Dad. How are you doing today?
Fine as a pro here.
Good. All right. So today we're here to talk about your 1954 Ford Sunliner.
Yep.
Yep. So when did you get the car?
I got it in April of 1962.
Okay. Where?
Well, we lived in Bell Fountain out by Zanesfield, and I bought it in Bell Center from a guy named Messer. Got it for $200.
Okay. And yeah, I remember you told me a really funny story actually on a Facebook group about that too.
The what?
The Facebook group with a lady.
Oh yeah, here in recent years, and there was a group on Facebook from Bell Center, and I made a comment in there and told them about had anybody remembered this '54 Ford convertible owned by some Messers in Bell Center back in the 50s and 60s, and this one girl said, yeah, she was friends with their kids and she used to ride around in it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out the boy that was my age, or roughly my age, lived in Texas, but he never responded to any of my messages.
Because he's a jerk. Gotcha. All right. Let's see. I have a note in here. Walked with Grandma to cemetery on Memorial Day with flowers.
Yeah, well, that was before I got the car. From the time I was little, I lived next door to my grandma. And my grandma on Memorial Day, which she called Decoration Day, they grew lots of flowers. So we always had to take flowers and put on all the graves in Bell Fountain Cemetery, which was quite a walk. It's probably a couple miles. Then when I turned 16, I had a car and I was able to take her. And I could take her to other cemeteries too that were further away.
Okay, so that was the whole point of the car then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she rode in it a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I also have a note in here. Someone used shirt for toilet paper?
Used what? Oh, God. One time, Mike Schultz and I were up at Indian Lake, and we'd been swimming, so I had my shirt off or whatever. Anyhow, I went in the restroom and changed my clothes, I guess is what it was, and I forgot my shirt. And when we came back out, I said something about I don't have my shirt. And Mike went in to look at it, and I did too, and we found it, and somebody found my shirt and used it to wipe their butt with. And I'm not going to get it, just leave it there. But Mike, no, he said, I'll clean it, and then he got it and cleaned it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know why I put that. I guess I just like that story.
Oh, God.
All right. Let's see. You always kept your glasses on the dash after driver's test.
Yeah, well, when I went to take my driver's test, I passed everything except my vision.
Mm-hmm.
So Dad took me over to Columbus so a place where I could get glasses back the same day. I still had to wait a week to take my driver's test. When I went back, I took my driver's test again. I passed it without my glasses, but they said since I had glasses, they was going to put on there I had to have glasses when I drove. So when I drove, I just took them off and put them on the dash, or when I wasn't driving, I kept them on the dash, and never wore them any other time. For years, I just carried my sunglasses on the dash of the car.
You're lucky. Every time I tried doing that, it fell off.
Well, you notice the speedometer on my car, how it is. It goes up like this.
Go ahead and explain it. Like how it sits.
Well, it's like a half dome.
Okay.
And it goes back almost to the windshield, so I can set something back there. Especially glasses, when they're open, set them down, they'll stay back there.
Okay. Yeah. Also, one of the other key points of your car that made you fall in love with it, the chrome on the inside.
Yeah, I have chrome all around the windshield on the inside, and I've never seen another 54 Ford like that. Mm-hmm. But I have seen it on 54 Mercurys. And knowing Fords and Mercurys were made I think in the same plant, I just wonder if when they went to put the trim on mine, they grabbed chrome by mistake, or else the guy before me that had it, for whatever reason, wanted to change it to chrome, although I'm sure that would have been expensive for him to do that. Mm-hmm. And I haven't even seen any custom 54 Ford convertibles or hardtops that have the chrome around there like mine does.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and let's see. The other cool, or I guess bad part about your car would be when you purchased it, it had no power steering.
No, it had power steering as an option, but the pump was out, it leaked. So I drove it all through high school with Armstrong steering, which is, it's a lot harder to drive a car when the power steering's out than it is a car that doesn't have power steering at all.
Yeah, yeah. Especially also since you know what kind of engine it had.
Yeah. Did I tell you in there about when I drove it down the ski slope?
No.
Well, when I was 16, Bill Snyder and I, uh, we were classmates and best friends, and a girl in our class, his dad was building a ski slope. He had a farm with a really big hill. It's a ski slope today called Mad River Mountain. So we was going down there and watching it, and they'd cleared off all the trees, and it was just a mountain and dirt. And Bill and I was out there alone, and we decided we want to see if that car will make it on top of that hill. So I dropped it down in low, and I took off, and I went up this ski slope. And when I did, the ski slope went up slanted like that, then it was flat on top, so I had to kind of gas it so the front wheels would come off the ground a little bit to get on that. So anyhow, we did it like 4 times that day. And the last time down, the rear axle pulled out, so I didn't have any brakes, and I couldn't downshift it, couldn't do anything to slow it down. And Mad River's down there at the bottom, and I'm doing like 45 mile an hour, which is fast through the dirt, you know, and not having any control. But fortunately, there was enough level spot, and the dirt was, you know, it wasn't smooth, and it stopped the car before we got to the river, Mad River. So that was good. Had to have it towed home, but then Dad had the 54 Ford I learned to drive with that didn't run anymore sitting out there, so all we had to do is take a rear end out of it and put under mine, and then we was good to go.
That's cheating by most standards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. You also thought the engine in your car was a 55 Mercury.
Well, or Ford. 55. I thought it was the police special because it was supposed to be a 239, but it had dual exhaust. It looked like it was factory dual exhaust. And none of the parts I bought for a 239 seemed to fit. But back then I went into engines enough to look at the serial number and figure it out. So I just assumed. Then the engine went bad, and this is skipping ahead a little bit, and it was just, the car was just sitting there, and my brother-in-law, he wasn't my brother-in-law yet at that time, Rusty Latimer, and I went down to Deer Creek Auto Parts and found a 54 Ford with a V8 engine and got the engine out of it. I was also having a little bit of trouble with the 2-speed automatic that was in there, so we got a transmission from a 56 Ford. It was
right, well, let's go.
it was automatic, but it was 3-speed.
Yeah, we'll hit Rusty in a minute because I have a section for him already. Yeah, next one I had was a tailpipe was a water pipe.
Yeah, when I first got it, the guy before me, apparently the end of the tailpipe had rusted out, which was common back then, and he just had a piece of lead water pipe, still had the threads on the end that he'd put on back there for a tailpipe.
And also the loud muffler, Mother always had dinner.
Yeah. Yeah, I had gutted mufflers, and coming down to our house was about a mile, maybe a mile down a hill. And it was like a quarter mile down the road, so I come down this hill and I turn and come a quarter mile over to our house. And you know how usually when you get home, Mom will have things almost ready, but my mom would have things set and ready for me to sit down, drinks poured. All I had to do was go in and sit down, you know. So finally one day I asked her, I said, Mom, how do you know exactly when I'm going to be here? She said, I can hear that muffler when you come down that hill. So when she could hear the muffler, she knew I was almost home and go ahead and set the table.
Oh, that's great. All right, and you drove for, you said, about 3 or 4 years, and you never drank but only smoked in the car.
Right. I did smoke in it. But I didn't drink back in the day anyhow. But I didn't drink it. I don't even think I drank Coke in it.
And you also used to, let's see, the only 2 things you used a car for was dates, driving to school, and sneaking into drive-ins.
Yep, that was it.
Okay. Do you want to elaborate on the sneaking in? I know we had an elaborate story on that.
Well, sneaking in the drive-in, unless they had a night that was $1 a carload, you had to pay individually. So I'd put people in the trunk, and then the back of my back seat wasn't bolted down. I had it where I could just lift it up. So when we got into the drive-in, I could get in the back seat, just lift it up, and then everybody could crawl through. Also, one time, Kay just got up back of the back seat. You know that dip up back of the back seat where the top goes, and just laid in there and covered up with a blanket and got in too.
Clever girl. All right. Now we can talk about Rusty. Yeah, I haven't seen...
Well, now I already talked about him. That was what he helped me with my car.
Well, you started, but I stopped you. Yeah, he was Miss Carol's husband, and...
No, he was Kay's husband.
I'm sorry, Kay's husband was Miss Carol's sister.
Yeah.
Sorry, family tree mix up here. Yeah, he helped you replace the engine and put a real 54 engine in there, and a 56... 3-speed instead of a 2-speed?
3-speed transmission, automatic.
So 3.
It was a Ford-O-Matic. It was originally a 2-speed Ford-O-Matic. In '56, Ford started making a 3-speed automatic, and that's what we put in there.
But your car's a manual. Well, it was a manual, wasn't it?
No, that car was never a manual.
Oh, that was the red car. Okay.
The red car, and also the 4-door, and the 4-door that I learned to drive on, or not learned to drive on, but took my driver's test in was a
okay, yeah.
shift.
And now we start jumping to the timeline thing where we try to find out the history of the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, from 64 to 66, you left it sitting outside Miss Carol's parents' place.
Well, not until 65, I don't think. The more I think about that, I think probably 65 is I left it out there. Or I left it down to Annie's. I can't remember, but then in 1967, we bought a house in West Jeff that had a garage. Also, in that period of time before that.
All right, back to it. All right, yeah, so we stopped at 66, moved to West Jefferson on Xmas Eve, got pulled there with chain with help from kid neighbor Emmett Calloway.
No, I didn't get that far talking a minute ago.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, you were... Well, you skipped up to 68, so you skipped a 4-year gap.
Let me see the picture.
You missed how you got it to West Jeff.
Yeah, you missed how you got to West Jeff.
You went right to David hitting the garage.
Okay. When we moved to West Jeff, the car was still running. And I don't remember the exact sequence of everything that happened then. It was running. We drove it to West Jeff. But my dad may have been using it for a couple months before or after or during that time. So I know it was driven to West Jeff. It wasn't pulled anywhere until after David hit the garage. I parked the car and let it sit like 3 weeks and went out to start it, and it wouldn't start. Looking back on it, I think it was probably just the starter was stuck. But the engine wouldn't turn over, never could get it to turn over. So ended up not driving it, but pulling it to Bell Fountain behind my Ford pickup after I got it. And that's when Emmett Calloway steered it. You know, I pulled him all the way over to Bell Fountain in it. So that had to be quite an experience for him, getting pulled 50-some miles on back roads, hilly back roads.
I'm sure it was the highlight of his life.
Yeah.
All right, and then, yeah, it sat, and then you sent from 67 to 71, it sat in outback of West Jefferson, occasionally getting started up.
Yeah, well, from 71, in 71, we moved to Grove City. At that time, the car went from being in the garage at West Jeff to being on the farm in Zanesfield. And then it set out there. Then, it took from 71 till 75 till I built a garage that I could hold it in. And then I brought it over. But by that time it had some damage. It had bullet holes in it, plus the milk truck had slidden into the side of it and broke the driver's window and the chrome strip underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then I pulled it over there and I kept it there. It was inside. It's never seen the rain since then.
Mm-hmm. All right, and that was and then David crashed it in '68 in that timeline, right?
Yes.
Okay. And and then it sat in the machine shed from '71 to '75, right?
No, it sat in my garage in Grove City. It sat in the machine shed before that, from 60, probably 69 to 71, something in there like that.
Okay.
Somewhere about there. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, then '71 to '75 it was in the machine shed.
No, that's when it was in the garage, the back
That's in the
garage.
garage. Oh, it was in the back garage. Okay. Yeah, and then from '75 to '90, it was just back in that
Just
back
sitting
garage.
in there.
Yeah, and then in '90 you moved to Florida.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we had it moved down, so then it sat in this garage for a few years until, when was it? 06 maybe, 05, 06. Initially I was wanting to fix up the LTD also, so I bought this Ford 302 engine for the LTD, which the LTD had a 400 cubic inch engine in it. But I thought the 302 would be enough because I know 302 was an option then. Plus the 302 I'd bought from Ford Performance had a lot of horsepower and it was built to go. But I had the engine and the car sent down to Bartow Ford for a couple months, and then Gary told me that, then I met Gary, and he's the one that told me, he said, no, you don't want that engine in that LTD, you want to put it in your convertible. So I put it in the convertible.
Well, let's
Had that put, and then I had the engine from the LTD taken out, bored not stroked, bored out to 408, rebuilt, mild cam. So now the LTD will really go, but I need to get a new gas tank cinder unit for the gas gauge.
Was that before or after the car accident?
Which accident?
The one that gave you the funds to fix the car. The 54.
All this was after when I started working on it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and finish the timeline. So so after you had it down here in '90, from '90 to 2004, it just sat in the garage, right? Then you had the accident.
2006.
Yeah.
It started making things happen.
Yeah, you got the car accident in 2004. Then 2006, you started doing that, and that's when you met Gary.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and he primarily redid the frame and put the engine in it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and he put the body, he did a lot more than that. We had the car separated. The body was at the body shop, and he had the frame. He took everything apart on the frame, the springs, the wheels, the brakes, everything, redid that. We got the body back on that. Then he had to go do all the wiring and a lot of stuff after the body is back on it. Had to run the wiring through everything.
Okay. And let's see what else you put on here. He did a couple things. Looks like it pissed you off. Like painting over the VIN.
No, he didn't do that. The guy that painted the car, I specifically told him to mask off the VIN plate. And the guy said okay, but then the guy that he had do the painting that worked for him, he didn't tell him that. So the guy just painted over the whole thing.
Douche.
I mean, I got the VIN number, but I don't have all the other information that was on there.
Okay. Yeah, and let's see. I also have marked in here radiator.
Yeah, it was fun when all this stuff we was doing to the car, trying to figure out what we were going to make work, and we couldn't use the original radiator because the engine we put in it stuck out too far forward with the electric fan on it. So I wanted this car to be able to run across Death Valley without overheating. So actually I ordered was it copper brass original equipment type radiator with extra cores in it, and had it built for a 6-cylinder because the 6-cylinder set forward in the radiator shell further than a V8 because the V8 engine's shorter than a 6-cylinder. So I ordered that, and I got their most powerful electric fan because, like I said, I don't have any problem ever with it overheating. And that was the problem with my wife. She doesn't like that fan. She says it's too noisy. When you're going slow, you can hear it. Or when you turn off the car, you can hear it.
As she sleeps behind me.
Yeah.
Honestly.
All right, yeah, let's see. Other thing he did was he installed door poppers.
Oh, that's bad. I don't even want to talk about that. I'll tell you about it.
This is the spot to talk about. It's gotta be on film.
No.
Go ahead. Just get it off your chest, Dad. This is the last thing you have to get off your chest.
Okay. The original door latches weren't that good on a 54 Ford. They didn't make really safety door latches till 56. So I bought these really nice bear claw door latches and put on there. However, when you go out to open the car and you push your finger on the button and push it, it pulls a rod up instead of pushing it down, which worked fine on the old one, but the bear claw had to be pulled down instead of pulled up. And we couldn't make that work. I think Gary got tired of farting with it. So he put on door poppers, which I'm 100% against. Never liked them, never wanted them. I always said, if I get them, they won't work, you know. So he put them on, and they worked. And I took it up to get it, the interior put in. And while I was up there, the door poppers quit working. Never could get them to work again. So now I can't drive it anywhere that I need to lock the car because I got to have a window down so I can reach inside and grab a door handle and unlock it. So that's something that needs to be fixed. That irritates me. I need to find an engineer to engineer a way to make it work.
Right.
With it.
Yeah, and you said you took it to Dade City to get it reupholstered, right?
Yeah, they did a great job too.
Yeah, and you also didn't go with the original color format.
No, it was originally emerald green and black inside.
Yeah, I love that.
And it was so unusual. I mean, it was. I don't know that I ever saw another one like it until a few years ago. I went to Barrett Jackson, and they had a restored 54 Ford with the green and black interior, and I took a picture of it.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one.
And so I really had trouble. I always liked black cars with red interiors. It's always, from the time I was little. But I liked this one too, so I didn't want to change it. But after I decided, I had Gary and some other people talking me into getting rid of the original seats that was in it. The front seats that was originally in there were electric seats. Power up, down, back, forth, blah, blah, blah. And that was the first year Ford had electric seats. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to keep it. And everybody said, if you plan on driving this car on long trips, you're going to want more comfortable seats. So then after much looking around, I mean lots of looking around, spent a lot of hours in junkyards looking at different seats, I settled on Lincoln Mark 8 seats. And I found the seats we have in a junkyard, and it was in a Lincoln Mark 8, and we got them out of there. And I did notice that the car had been owned by a retired Marine. The sticker was in the windshield. So anyhow, I got the seats out of that, and I also got the floor shift and the shifting linkage out of it. That's why in my car, because of the different sizes in cars, my floor shift is way up under the dash practically. So when you're putting it in park, you got to lean up a little bit to put it in park.
All right.
So.
Yeah, and let's see. Next note I have is took frame back to body shop Mike's, and Mike's was shut down.
Yeah, that's where
I always like this part of the story.
No, that was just the body. Gary had the body, Mike had the body, and he was working on it. And Mike didn't drive because he'd lost his license for DUI. But he is a good guy, real good guy, and reasonable and did things right. Well, apparently he had this old guy working for him, and I didn't even know anything about it. But one day I get a call from the guy that owned Mike's shop and said, you got a day to get your car and all the parts out of here. I kicked Mike out. He's not here anymore, and I'm not going to save any of this stuff. So I had to get a hold of Gary. We had to go over there and get everything we could find out of there. And I brought it home for a day. And during that day, I got a phone call from a guy I'd never met before. I later met, but I didn't know who he was. He said he knew Mike, and he had worked with Mike on my car, and he loved my car. And he was an old homeless drunk type guy. Good old guy, though. But he said, I found this Christian body shop that'll hire me to work on the weekend, or on work release, which I don't know, I guess that's through the week, whenever it is, on work release. And he says, he's a real nice guy, and I told him about this, and he said he'd be willing to work on it. So I thanked him, and I went and talked to this guy, and he was willing to work. So the next day, the car was only home 24 hours, and Gary came over, and we got it and took it down to Nate, and he did the work on it in Winter Haven.
Yep, and all was said and done and finally finished in 2010, right?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, and you prepped this car mostly to go on Route 66, right?
Yep.
Yep, and let's see, you already covered the part that Mom hates the giant fan, so...
Yep.
Yep. And let's see, bottom of car is sprayed with rhino bed leather.
Yeah, it is. I didn't want it to rust, and I wanted to protect it no matter where I drove it through the desert or everything. I didn't make it to be a show car, although it almost is. I've taken it to shows before, and but I wanted it to be driven. Mm-hmm. I built it to be driven, which I haven't driven it. After I got it, I didn't want to take it out in the rain, and once Debbie and I went out and took a ride, and it rained enough we had to put the top off and came home and put it up, and I dried it off, but that's the only time it's ever been in the rain.
Yep, and you still intend on driving Route 66, the original one, right?
No.
Oh, come on, Dad.
Yeah, I'm too old for that now.
Alright, well, we're going to talk to Dave about this off camera, so we can both yell at you. Alright, next time, let's see, next we're going to go into the modern mechanicalness of your vehicle. Let's see. First, we're going to start with the cluster that is the other cars of things we pulled to put in that car. So, 56 Ford is the convertible top motor, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it was 12 volt, and it was just like the 54 one, except it was 12 volt, and it had 6 volt in it, and we were converting everything to 12 volt.
Yep, and let's see, the windshield wipers came from an Expedition, right?
No, the windshield washers came. The windshield washer under the hood came from an Expedition.
Yeah, I got you to say washer on camera.
The windshield wiper switch was from a Mustang.
Okay, I messed that up then. Alright, and I actually noticed after putting all the notes together, there's a lot of parts off of an Explorer.
Well, Gary he'd bought an Explorer that the engine was bad on, and he was robbing parts off of it, and it was sitting out at his place. So I could get parts for free off of it if they'd work.
Yeah, because it looks like he put a power steering pump, alternator, and serpentine belt system.
Yep, that was a big thing.
Yeah, rear brakes, and a transmission.
Yeah, well, the transmission didn't come from that Explorer. It came from another in a junkyard. And I thought it had the rear brakes off of that. But you and I found the bill. I know he originally intended on putting those on there, but he ended up buying those other ones that we found from, was it Edelbrock, or who was it from? Somebody I didn't know made brakes.
I didn't see that, so...
Yeah, you're the one that showed it to me.
Oh. Well.
Anyhow.
Yeah, and then the cruise control came off an F-150.
Yeah, cruise control from F-150. And it was originally in the steering wheel, and the guy that fixed the car made it in the console, so it's right down there below the shifter, and it's real convenient.
Yep, and the power brake unit came off an F-250.
Power brakes came off an F-250. I was trying to keep everything Ford, so if I ever went on this trip and had problems with it, I could get it worked on easily.
Right. And then grand total, this one took the cake. 6 parts off of a Mustang.
What?
Your car's made the race. Because you got a 66 Mustang headers on it.
Yeah.
A 94 Mustang air compressor.
Air conditioning compressor, yeah.
Electric fuel pump on, okay, yeah,
Yep.
I'll cover that in a second. Yeah, the front brakes, and the long block kit for the engine.
Yeah, well, I bought it in a long block. I mean, it had all the parts in it, except the intake manifold. So,
Okay.
anyhow.
And
And
then,
it had a cam in it. That's why it sounds good when it's idling. And I put hush puppy mufflers on it
right.
because nothing disturbs the peace like a hush puppy.
Is that the slogan?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, and you already mentioned the Lincoln Mark 8 seats and shifter, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Bauman Brothers shifting transmission module.
Yeah, because to get better gas mileage, we put a electronic module on the transmission that tells it when to shift, and this module has 2 settings. One setting is programmed for if you're wanting power and to take off quick, you know, and the other one is if you're going down the road and don't want it to downshift so easy and to get better mileage, it gets it in the higher gears quicker.
Okay. And let's see, the B&M torque converter.
Yeah, it's got a B&M torque converter, and I forget how many RPMs the stall unit is.
Yeah, I remember trying to look at the manual, you couldn't find it. And then a Borgeson steering.
Yeah, when we got the car, it just did not steer. You couldn't, had trouble making a U-turn in it. So I got this Borgeson steering, and man, I tell you, that thing turns on a dime now.
And Mom is snoring, this is great. Alright. Alright.
The snoring in the background is Mama.
Alright, and a Carter fuel pump.
Yep.
Okay.
Electric.
Yep. Alright. And then you had a few parts from
The battery's in the trunk too.
Yeah, I'm going to cover that here in a minute. Actually, we can go ahead and cover that now if I can find the note. No, I can't find it. And we're doing Dead Space. We're just going to go to the next one. Alright. The Edelbrock parts. The Performance Series carburetor.
And manifold.
Yeah, and the IAS shocks you had no idea that you had. Like,
yeah,
like
exactly. That was it. I didn't even know they made shocks.
Shocking, isn't it? Alright, and then a Fireball XRI ignition for Ford's V8 single points.
That was to replace the points in the
What are points
distributor.
anyway?
Well, I'll show you sometime.
Okay. And then for the Ford Racing name brand, you put a closed crankcase ventilation kit, a drive gear, and motorsport air breather cap.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Those are all Ford Racing parts.
It's part of the engine?
It's all parts of those that are on that car.
Okay. Well, the only thing I ordered was the engine and that from Ford Motorsports.
Well, I remember you telling me that Gary insisted the air cap be chrome.
Yeah. He got the oil filler cap because I didn't have the engine dressed up to his liking. So he said, well, at least got to get a chrome air oil filter cap on it.
All right.
Make
And
something shiny.
Yep. And a Gates microbelt fan.
Yep.
And I Did It steering column.
Yep.
Lacera steering wheel.
Lacera. L-A-C-E-R-R-A. Lacera.
That was close enough. All right. There we go. Here's the painless wiring system for
Yep,
battery.
painless wiring
Yeah.
system.
So why'd you put it in the trunk anyway?
Well, it doesn't take up room under the hood, and it's a lot easier and stays cooler, and it's cleaner in the trunk. It's a better place. A lot of expensive cars put theirs in the trunk. Rolls-Royce is
Oh, I didn't know that.
And there's.
And then the SSBC rear conversion kit.
The what?
It converts Ford 8-inch and 9-inch wheels, I guess.
Okay, when Gary put that differential in, or the rear axle assembly from the Expedition, I thought he put Expedition brakes on it, but those are the brakes that he put on it, I found out.
Oh, those are this is the brake system.
Yeah, instead of the Explorer brakes.
Oh, okay. Glad you specified that. And then a vintage.
But it's still Mustang on the front end.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's interesting. Where you have a giant vehicle, back brakes, and a smaller race car on the front. That's weird. And then the vintage AC system.
Yep, vintage air conditioning.
Yep, and a Wix fuel filter.
Well, that doesn't matter. I'll change that fuel filter.
Right. All right, and then I also have last three things. Let's see, the giant electric fan. Do you remember the name brand at all of that fan was?
No, I can't remember the name of the company. It was a company in California. I ordered the fan and the radiator from. Mm-hmm. But they were good. They did exactly what I said, and nothing had to be returned. You just had to, on the fan, had an aluminum shroud, and I had to have tabs added on to screw it onto the shroud.
Turn it off.
Anyhow.
So close to getting through without a phone. Alright, so the power buttons you move to the center console from the doors.
The what buttons?
The power
window.
Yeah, power window buttons, sorry. Yeah, you want to explain why you did that?
I just wanted to. I mean, they'd been on the door before, and I didn't. There's not a real good reason. I just thought it'd be nice to have them down there. You know, some cars have them down there.
All right, and then you had the rear end custom made, right? You want to explain that?
Oh golly, this is something that he could talk to you more about. He took the rear end out of the Explorer he had, and he had to cut the ends off of it. I can't remember if it's too wide or not wide enough. And then he had to weld it back together. And I think that's the source where my rear end noise is coming from. And that's another reason I don't like driving it too much, because when you go around a long curve to the left, the rear end squeaks. So I got a problem there.
No, Rocky.
And I don't really know what to do about it.
All right. Yeah, and you put .387 gears on the back, right?
Yeah, it has 387. Yeah, it's 3.87 is the ratio of the gears in the rear end. Yeah. Which is like for drag racing.
Mm-hmm. And I also like how you modernized the car with all the iPod features, only for it to become obsolete. Why don't you explain that a little bit?
I got a custom fit radio. It looks like the original one. And when I got it, they didn't have Bluetooth and stuff, so I got it with all the iPod connections, and had the iPod connection coming out and another USB coming out, and had the guy that did the interior build a pocket for my iPod up on the side of the console, and now I need a new radio that's Bluetooth.
We're almost done. All right, well, that's pretty much it, Dad. Do you want to shut that off? Close the door.
Okay.
Anything else you want to add?
Nope, that's about it.
All right, well, you want to say anything one last time to the camera?
No, is this wrap it up?
Yeah, pretty much. Want to tell people to drive safe or something? I don't know.
Help you.
All right, say bye, Dad.
Bye.
Okay, so I forgot a very important aspect when interviewing Dad the other day about his '54 Ford Sunliner, and that was the Wanderer written on the back of his car. So I'll let Dad take it from here.
Well, back in the day, you named your car usually after a song. So there was two problems. Number one, what song did I use, and how would I write it on the side? So the song I loved was by Dion and the Belmont, The Wanderer. I roam from town to town, go through life without a care, you know. I really enjoyed that. And then I ordered a little pinstriping kit from J.C. Whitney. It was one of the little metal rollers in the little glass bottle, and you had to. So of course I'm not really good at pinstriping or stuff like that. So I sat down, and over each rear wheel I wrote the Wanderer in all capital letters, and each letter was tilted like the word was wondering. And that's how it became known as the Wanderer, all through high school, up until I got it restored. When I got it restored, it was kind of hard to find somebody that could pinstripe, and I certainly wasn't going to do it. And but I finally did. It was a sign painter. It was Ben Harris's dad.
Yeah, little Ben.
Yeah, and he did the Wanderer over where I used to have it, over the wheels, and I also had him put it in the middle of the dash because I just thought that would be cool. So it's on both sides of the car, over both rear wheels, and on the dash. So that's how it got to be known as the Wanderer.
So yeah, I do have a question about that. Did you ever date a girl named Rosie, and why is it not tattooed on your chest? Just asking for clarification.
Nope, didn't do either one of those.
Right, and also, your car's the only car. I mean, you said that everyone did that. Did you ever actually see another car do that?
Oh yeah, one of the kids in our school was Duke of Earl. One was the Rebel. Yeah.
Because I've never seen another car do that ever.
Oh.
I mean, of all the car shows you took me to in Old Town and stuff.
There's another Wanderer up in Jacksonville, and he's got the license plate that says the Wanderer, and I wanted it. That's how I found out he is up there. It was already registered to
that sucks.
a 55 Ford up there.
Okay. All right, well, okay, I think now we're officially wrapped. So enjoy the slideshow of the car. Dad, you want to add anything?
No, I didn't know you was recording this last part.
Yeah, I haven't stopped, so.
Sorry about that.
Oh, please. Go ahead and say bye, Dad.
Bye.